So, good evening and welcome to our 138th step in our walking tour through the Bible. I'm Father Alexander. This is St. Peter's in Hove, and we're going to look at the second Psalm. We're on the book of Psalms. Now, what do we believe in? Well, we believe in God. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in God's Son, Jesus Christ, the Messiah, who is co-equal, co-eternal, and consubstantial with the Father, and who reigns above as Christ the King. That's the easy part, really. We also believe, and the creed expresses this, I believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. That's the hard bit. We have to believe and have to have complete confidence, fide, confidence, that the same root as faith, in the Church, founded by Jesus Christ, founded directly by Jesus Christ, and with the promise that the gates of hell would never prevail against it. Sometimes it must be very hard to believe in the church with complete confidence, complete burning, fervent faith. You think of all those people who found themselves in the Roman amphitheatre facing the lions, thinking, did I really make the right choice when I decided to get baptized? You think of those people who were tortured to death by the Japanese, thinking, well, maybe that's it. Maybe Catholicism in Japan is simply not going to take. And others there would be. And even today, on the ground, we look at the way the Catholic Church is, and we see a lot of people falling away, not just because of COVID. COVID has speeded it up, but the Church does seem to be in a rather poor state. And indeed, the National Secular Society would have us believe, because they too are fervent believers, but in something rather different, they would have us believe that religion is on the way out, and that eventually churches will completely disappear and they'll just be relics. I remember speaking to the head of the National Secular Society. He said, one day, people walk down Church Road and think, church, what was that? Or they'll walk up Chapel Lane and think, I wonder why this is called Chapel Lane. What's a chapel? In other words, the footprint of the church will be completely erased from this country, just as the footprint of the church was completely erased from what is now Tunisia and Algeria and Morocco, there and Libya. There was once a flourishing church in those places. Now there's no church at all there, no native church. There might be a church frequented by a few foreigners in those countries, but there's no church essentially. And same with the vast hinterland of Anatolia, once full of Christians, now hardly any. And most of those would be foreigners rather than natives. So don't get depressed. Don't get depressed. Because the second psalm essentially is telling us, don't get depressed. I apply the psalm really to the Christian epoch. Why this tumult among the nations, among the peoples, this useless murmuring? They arise, the kings of the earth, princes plot against the Lord and his anointed. Come, let us break their fetters. Come, let us cast off their yoke. God is a tyrant, let's get rid of him. The Messiah, Jesus Christ, is a tyrant, let's get rid of him. The fetters of religion need to be smashed. Come on, they say, the kings of the earth. That's say the leading people, the intellectuals, the chatterati. Yes, I'm going to use that phrase, the woke, who everybody else listens to. He who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord is laughing them to scorn. Now, why is the Lord laughing at them? Well, first of all, because their desire to abolish religion is completely futile. And their rebellion against God is completely futile. It's not going to get anywhere. And also, he's laughing at their lack of understanding. Come, let us break their fetters. Come, let us cast off their yoke. Now, you know what a yoke is. It's what an ox wears when it's dragging a plough. So it's a heavy burden. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus Christ has not come to enslave us. The church has not come to enslave us. God the Father has not sent his Son so that we might be slaves, but rather that we should be free. And indeed, the people who want to abolish religion are the ones who then make people unfree. So, for example, you might remember Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, who essentially shut all the churches. And any protesting bishops, he chucked a lot of the Orthodox bishops into rivers, tied them up first and chucked them into freezing rivers, and that got rid of them. I think in the time of Stalin, of course, allowed the churches to open again, but under close control. And in the Soviet Union, there were 3 Catholic churches which were allowed to function. One in St. Petersburg, one in Moscow, and one in Odessa. And that was just so that the foreigners could pretend to that there was religious freedom in the Soviet Union. There was not. In fact, there was not only was there not religious freedom in the Soviet Union, there was no freedom at all. There was certainly no freedom from fear, no freedom from espionage, no freedom from all the horrible things that we associate with the Soviet Union, quite rightly. So God has come to liberate us. The enslavers of humanity, the thing they want to do is get rid of the fatherhood of God. Because once you get rid of the fatherhood of God, then you take away human dignity very rapidly. You take away the brotherhood of man. And God laughs at them. This psalm meant a great deal to John Milton. He must have meditated on this psalm a great deal, because it features in Paradise Lost when Satan is flying off to Eden in order to subvert God's great work and to bring about the ruin of Adam and Eve. God, on his throne, looks at Satan's expedition and laughs. Why? Because Satan's expedition is effectively futile. Satan will indeed disturb the peace of Eden, but he will not destroy the happiness of humanity. He will not totally corrupt humanity. And of course, because Satan has done this, God will send us a saviour. O happy fault, O necessary sin of Adam, that won for us so great a Redeemer, as St. Augustine so rightly said. So Satan, by trying to subvert the plan of God, will in fact activate the even greater plan of God. I was at a lecture at university. I can't remember who was giving the lecture, but he was talking about this very scene in Paradise Lost. He said, God, the Milton's God, has got a personality. And he said this bit where God is laughing at Satan shows that God not only has a personality, but God has personality problems in Milton. I thought that was rather amusing at the time. And of course, they say that the real hero of Paradise Lost is Satan, the opponent of God. But, Satan is not really the hero of Paradise Lost. The hero of Paradise Lost is Adam. Adam, in communion with God, is everything a human being should be. Whereas those who oppose God are weak, petty, vicious, and I think proud, because that is, of course, the sin of Satan, the sin of pride. They are silly people who essentially will not cooperate with God for their own good. They don't know what's good for them. And then the psalmist says, and God says, then he will speak in his anger. His rage will strike them with terror. It is I who have set up my king on Zion, my holy mountain. Christ the King reigns. Nothing you can do about it. And the psalmist says, I will announce the decree of the Lord. The psalmist, that inspired poet. The Lord said to me, you are my son. It is I who have begotten you this day. Ask, and I shall bequeath you the nations. Put the ends of the earth in your possession. With a rod of iron, you will break them, shatter them like a potter's jar. So the Messiah is powerful. Christ the King is powerful. He will shatter the rebels against God. Now, O kings, understand. Take warning, rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with awe and trembling. Pay him your homage, lest he be angry and you perish, for suddenly his anger will blaze. Don't provoke God. God is not mocked. Let us have confidence in the mission of the church, because God has given us the grounds for confidence. And this is the other thing here. We got a little pointer to our own behavior. Never mind all those people who are trying to overthrow God. Serve the Lord with awe and trembling. Pay him your homage. Let us try and recover, particularly in our worship and in our prayer, the sense of awe we should feel before God. Trembling. Pay him your homage. Paying homage to God does not diminish me, rather it increases me. As the feudatory of God, if I can put it that way, as the servant of God, I have a great dignity. Whereas, of course, if I decide to do without God, I lose my dignity. I become a rebel. I don't really have any dignity, and Satan has no dignity, whereas it's Adam, the servant of God, who has great dignity, even after the fall. Anyway, maybe we'll talk more about Paradise Lost in future, but that's the second psalm for you. It's a truly great psalm. Why this tumult among the nations? All you people who think you know so much, why this useless murmuring? Get real. All the best. Bye.